Hello, friends. It is Nomad Brad coming to you from my box truck. How's everybody doing? Happy to have you here. Tonight, we're going to be doing a little electrical project. We'll go through that in a minute. Just want to say hello to those of you in the chat. Excuse me. And let's see who we got in here tonight. Oops, let me mute that. I'm monitoring the chat on my laptop, broadcasting from the iPhone, coming to you from Apache Junction, Arizona, just east of Phoenix. We're still in the Phoenix metro, but on the very eastern side. We got Dino. Dino might first comment. Happy to have you here, Dino. New-ish subscriber, but he's making a strong presence in the chat on the comments. I appreciate you, brother. We got Super Dave is here. Diana Sailor is here. Happy to have you guys. Kit P. Hey, Nomad Brad, and all of you lovely adventurers. Hello, happy to have you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Sierra Foothills, Western Slope. That's a beautiful area. I've driven through there multiple times. Absolutely love the Sierra Mountains. We got RD Vaughn 70. Hello, Nomad Crew. John C in the chat. What's going on, John C? He says, signing my lease to run through June 2026, $2,450 a month just for rent, no utilities, internet, etc. That is a crime, John C. That is a high. I mean, I guess relatively speaking, in this economy, that's not high, but just compared to back when I was renting, that's absurd. That's almost $3 grand a month just for a place to sleep. I'm not about it. I'm not about it. That's why I live in a van. No rent for me. But John C, he'll be out here with us soon enough. We got Robert Allman in the chat, greeting from Arkansas. I do like Arkansas. I took this van over. No, that was my last van, my last box truck. Took it to Arkansas, did a little crystal digging at one of the crystal mines. Had a super good time. The owner there was super interesting. He had all kinds of Sasquatch stories, and it was a wild time I had in Arkansas. It was fun though. We got Charlie Pepper in the chat. Hello, Charlie. Happy to have you here. Happy to have everybody. We're doing good. So we're in Apache Junction, Arizona. I'm coming to you through Starlink tonight. That's what we're using. So I also did the live stream last week with Starlink, and King Gamer actually brought it to my attention that it was a little choppy. Like the video was smooth, but at times, maybe like the audio didn't catch up, or it would kind of lag a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see if that happens again tonight, to see if it's any smoother. I checked the settings on Starlink tonight, and it looks like I have way better speeds. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but at least I have internet. Starlink's been working pretty good for downloads and uploads, but it looks like potentially it still might not be the holy grail for live streams. I know the best thing is to have high speed landline internet, but you can't do that as a nomad. We don't have that as an option. I can't plug into internet, so we're just gonna go with Starlink, see what happens. And I'll give you guys a little shot right now of my view. So I'm visiting my mom. I'm actually at her little apartment complex, and this is just looking out the window. There's a street and then a church next door. And then if we look out this window, there's a couple cars in the parking lot. It's kind of a nice little apartment complex. It's like 6 units and a little horseshoe, and they have a courtyard and a swimming pool. So it's a super nice area, super peaceful, super quiet. And then look at this. There's also a pretty nice view of the mountains. So we were actually out this morning. I was hanging with mom. We had some breakfast on her back porch, watched the mountains, watched the birds flying around. It was super fun time. I really am a fan of Arizona, and it's beautiful here. So I guess we're gonna dig in. We'll dig into the project here. Let me check the chats really quick. While I'm working, I probably won't be able to monitor the chat quite as much. So it'll be more of me just kind of doing demonstrating, but I'll try to pause and take questions when I can. You can always reduce the bit rate. Yeah, maybe that's an issue. I'm on my iPhone right now. I don't know if I have that option. I know when I do my live streams on my laptop, I use OBS, and so that has an option to adjust bitrate. I don't know if I can do it on my iPhone, but maybe it'll be automatic. Maybe it'll automatically be better on the iPhone. The problem could be that I had the bitrate set incorrectly when I used my OBS software. So I'll compare because I went through and watched the live stream from last week. I could see the chop that King was talking about. So I'll go back and rewatch this one, see how it looks. It might be user error, which wouldn't surprise me. Nomad Brad's no technological marvel. Let me see. Let me kick on the overhead lights here, bring in a little more light, and then I'll show you guys what we're working on. Okay. So this is the project that I'm doing. I'm kind of putting together a little electrical system. So ultimately, this is going to have a pair of lithium batteries, and the batteries are going to come in. They're going to connect to this 250 amp ANL fuse holder, and I'm using 1 aught power wire. This electrical system I'm doing is going to be primarily DC. So the main time you need really big power cable on 12-volt systems is if you're doing like a big inverter, like a 3,000 watt inverter and running a air conditioner or something. So this is all going to be um, this is all going to be 12-volt system. So we're using 1 aught cable, and it's going to go from the fuse to the uh, disconnect switch right here. So that will allow the client to turn the power on and off as they need to. And then that goes into a bus bar. So this is a positive bus bar. So from here, um, take the cover off. You can attach all of your loads. So we'll have the positive from the batteries coming in, and then off of the battery, we'll be able to connect all the accessories. So we have one fuse holder here that's going to go to a 12-volt fuse block, and then potentially in the future, he's going to add like a 12-volt air conditioner or maybe some other 12-volt devices like a DC charger. And so you could hook those on to these other terminals. And then here I have a negative bus bar. And so that's kind of a simple electrical setup, but that's what I'm working on tonight. So I'll show you guys some of the tools I use, the process that I do for hooking up wire and crimping, and I'll show you guys some of the tools we have here. So it'll be a fun time. Oh, we're going to use some heat shrink too, so I'll run the heat gun. I'll just show you guys how I do it in case you guys want to do your own solar. You guys want to open up your own solar install business. It didn't freeze now, but the buffer bar is fluctuating. What's the buffer bar? I don't even know. Oh, I guess it's buffering. We're buffering. Let's see. My mom just messaged me. She's trying to watch the live stream from her computer, and I had the internet set up inside. Let me see if I can text message her right here really quick. We got to send the password. We got to send the Wi-Fi password to mom. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, all clouds, personal. There's also a bunch of little flies in here. I'm not sure quite what's going on there. Okay, I think it's this. Okay, I don't know. Hopefully that works. I guess she'll text me back. Okay, here we go. So, somebody asked me where I get my wire, my components. I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, so I'm still looking for high quality products. For battery cable, especially, it's super important you get the good stuff. Um, a lot of cheaper wire isn't going to be copper. So the main thing you want to look for is you want to get oxygen-free copper wire, which is what this is. And this is a brand called Windy Nation. And so Windy Nation makes really good quality pure copper wire. This is 1 aught in size. And so that's what we're using to connect from the battery. And so The first thing we're gonna do is I'm making a lead right now to connect two batteries. So we're gonna have two batteries that connect together. And so I need two 18-inch leads, which will go like from an upper battery to a lower battery, kind of like this. And so the first thing I'll do is I'm gonna use a wire stripper. And I got all these tools off Amazon too. This is an iCrimp wire stripper. So this is good. Like with this big gauge wire, you can't use like a regular, the little hand wire stripper. You got to have something special. So this is made by iCrimp. And so basically the way this one works is, let's see, where's the camera? Here you have the wire with all the ends on it and insulation, and then this guy. And so you just kind of set it in. Well, the first thing you want to do is you take your terminal, right? So this is the ring terminal, and here's a finished end so you guys can kind of see what it looks like, right? This is what it looks like when it's done, but you want to figure out how much insulation you need to remove. And so if you kind of hold it side by side, you can kind of mark with your thumb to see how much insulation you want to pull because you want pure copper to be going up inside the ring terminal, kind of like that. So make a little mark with your thumb. You can use a pen or something, but after a while you kind of get used to it and then you just use your thumb. And so we'll go like this. And then it kind of just goes on like that. And, uh, and then you can rotate it around. And you put just like a tiny bit of pressure on it, like this, like that. Okay. And then the insulation, you can just pull it and it pops right off. Canada has fallen. I'm so sorry. Like this. There we go. And then the ring terminal is going to go right over the top of it, just like that. And you want to make sure when you put the ring terminal down that all the copper does go inside. You don't want any stragglers hanging out. Usually when you make a fresh cut, all the wires are going to be super straight and easy. So that's it. You slide the ring terminal down, and then now we're ready to crimp it. And so I have these crimpers right here. These are Temco industrial hydraulic crimpers. The cool thing about these is it's adjustable. So you can use all different size of ring terminals. I'm using 1/0 right now, but you can go all the way up. You can do big 4/0 ring terminals. So with something like this, you can buy one set of crimpers and it's going to work for all your bigger wire. And so the way we do this guy is you just open it up kind of like this, and then you slide your ring terminal in. Got to open it a little bit more. Let's see, how can you guys see this? We'll go like this. Oops, a little bit more. Okay, go like this. There it is. And then usually I set it down. Let's see if I can bring you guys down a little bit. Drop it down. There we go. So we'll kind of set it in place. And then you turn this upper screw and it tightens the ring terminal down just like that. Kind of gives it a snug fit. Okay. And then you just want to watch and make sure that the copper wire is all the way inside the terminal, that it didn't, like this, it didn't slide out on you. So you want to push it all the way in. And then you're just going to squeeze the handles like this. And it's hydraulic, so it has like an oil inside. And so you don't have to put in a whole lot of force to get it to crimp. You just kind of squeeze it like a pair of, some kind of cutters or something, and works out pretty good. And you can watch the bottom, if you guys can see that. And you can see it start to smush up in there. And then once you get a good little indentation on the back side, I didn't count. I have it nailed down to where I can count how many pumps it takes. It takes 20 pumps to do a 1/0, but once you get a good crimp, then you can release it just like that. Okay. And then there we go. Here's the ring terminal crimped onto the wire. Give you guys a little side shot. And so you can see the piece kind of comes in and then pushes into it and locks it in place. And then I always give it a tug when I'm done, just make sure it is. I mean, if it looks crimped like that, it's going to be tight, but I always give it a little tug just to make sure nothing comes loose. And so we're good on that. So there's our wire. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use heat shrink, which is this heat shrink tubing right here. And this is 3-to-1 heat shrink. And so you're going to want basically just enough. You're going to want to cover the upper part of this ring terminal, basically the straight part. It starts to kind of fan out at the top as you get to the ring portion. So you don't need to cover that, but basically you just want to kind of go right to the edge there, and then you want to cover, maybe a half inch onto the insulation. So you can kind of just um, make a little mark with your finger of how much you want. Cut it with a pair of scissors like this. There we go. And then the heat shrink will just slide over the top like this. And there it is, just like that. Boom. Okay. And then we're going to use the heat gun. I have this uh, Wagner heat gun right here. I bought this on Amazon also. Wagner's a pretty decent brand. This isn't a super, um, it's not like a super commercial grade heat gun. In fact, I've used it quite a bit, and I noticed yesterday when I was using it, it was kind of like the fan is a little bit like wow, wow, like it's a little tired. So, but for most people that are just doing this for personal use, it's going to be just fine. So let me plug the heat gun in, plug it in, plug it in. Okay. Okay, so we got it, and then we got the heat shrink, and then now you're just going to turn on the heat gun. Just go something like that. And as you heat it, you'll see it slowly shrink down and conform. And then this is the adhesive heat shrink. I always recommend that. It has like a glue inside, and so it just helps create a watertight watertight seal and keep the heat shrink from like slipping around. And I don't know if you can see this on camera. Let's see if it'll focus. But maybe if I move my head out of the way. But there's like a little bit of like a shininess at the edge of it. And so that's actually the adhesive. You can kind of see the adhesive coming up out of the heat shrink. And so that's good. That's what you want. You got a solid seal, heat shrunk in place, safe, ready to roll. And so that's going to be one of the terminals to connect the battery pair. So we got this. We're going to do one more for the negative side. Let me stop and see if there's any questions. See how you guys are doing. Big hello, greetings from Mongolia. Happy to have you here. Mongolia. Cracker Jack at Brad's mom's house and she's viewing, so let's not get in trouble. Yeah, my mom's watching the live stream. Otis says I totally want to get started in the biz. Yeah, man, um there's a lot of opportunity to do solar. There's a lot of people that want the help that don't have the skills that need someone to do it for them. Um, You know, um, for most people that are doing this for for their own build outs, it's a lot to learn. And so a lot of people just don't want to have to learn everything you need to know and buy all the tools, which I totally understand. If you're just doing it for one build and you want to go out and enjoy it, then it makes sense to just hire it done. So there's a lot of demand for that, and there's a lot of people that have the money and they'd rather just pay somebody else to do it. So a lot of opportunity there. Let's see. So we need an 18-inch piece. I think that's what this one is. Did you paint the roof of your van white? No, I did not paint the roof of my van. Um, I thought about it when I first started the build, but the problem is I did this build out in Texas and it's super humid in Texas. And I was doing it outside at my friend's ranch. And so it was not a good location to do the roof coat. It was too humid. Like you would wake up in the morning and all the grass, the entire van would be soaked in just condensation and dew. So I was concerned that if I tried to do the roof coating, it wouldn't dry properly. And so I didn't. For that reason, I didn't do a roof coating. And I was in a hurry. Every time I do a van build, I'm in a hurry, it seems like. So, um, but I think it's a good idea for sure. I definitely would recommend it. And I'll maybe try to do it on my next build. The other thing too, though, is that I have most of my roof is covered in solar, so there's only a tiny bit of roof exposed. So the only reason I would be interested in the roof coating is like for waterproofness, because there's really not much roof exposed between all my solar panels and then my rooftop deck. There's really not much heat gain. Okay, so this is going to be the ground wire, 18 inches, and I'll show you guys these cable cutters that I use. These things are pretty badass. Someone says my connection is stable. Yeah, I think the iPhone probably like adjusts the bit rate. I think it's probably my fault. On that OBS Studio, it's just like I didn't have it set up right. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna cut it right here where my fingers are at. These cables are pretty cool, these cable cutters. So it opens up really big. You slide the cable in, then you close this down over it, just like this, just like this. And it's a ratcheting cutter. So again, it's really easy on your hands, which, for me, when I'm doing an install, I'm cutting a lot of cable. And so having anything that's like easier on your hands, uh, after a full day of install, it helps. So these are really nice cutters to use. And then we'll swing it open like this. And then you see it just opens back up. And then if you want to cut another piece, you just slide another piece in and crimp it down. I have an Amazon list on my page, and if you click on the Amazon list, it has installation tools, and all this stuff is on there. These cutters are on there, my stripper, the crimpers, all that stuff is on there. Even the heat gun, I think. If you want to buy anything, you should buy it now before the tariffs kick in. I saw some people posting online, some people like some companies. Like for example, there's a company called Wise, and they make security cameras, like Wi-Fi security cameras, outdoor stuff. And they said they just imported a shipment that was $168,000 of cameras, and they said the tariffs were like 200 something dollars, 200 something thousand. So I don't know if that's accurate. That doesn't make sense, but the tariffs were like twice as much as the actual cost of the products. If that's true, that's wild, and we're all gonna we're all gonna be in trouble. So I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, if you guys are wanting to buy stuff, um, I would definitely recommend doing it sooner than later, just based on that little story that I saw. Okay, so someone's asking about welding wire. Yeah, you can use welding wire. The main thing you're looking for in your cable. The reason I like battery cable is because it's super flexible, right? Like you can see how much that bends and twists. So when you're installing it, if you have to make like a strange shape, it's pretty easy. So you just want to make sure you get a high strand count. So if you look at the cross, let me see if I can get that to focus. If I hide my face, it might focus on it. If you look at the cross section there, you can see, I mean, there's like hundreds of small individual copper strands. And so that's what you want to get. If you look at some of the bigger cable, it'll be less strands, which means it's like bigger strands and it's less flexible. So that's my only cautionary tale. But I think welding cable is pretty highly stranded like this. So that's what I would recommend. But this is Windy Nation. Again, you can get it on Amazon. It's a really good quality product. It's a US company. And believe it or not, a lot of the wire actually is made in America. We have the facilities for it here. So a lot of it's not actually imported from China. So, but yeah, Windy Nation is good stuff. Also, Spartan Power. Spartan Power is the house brand of Signature Solar. So they also make really good quality battery cable. It's not cheap though. This 1/aught cable costs me like $5 a foot. uh, and that's Amazon prices. You know what I mean? So it adds up, but usually you don't need too much of it. Maybe 10 feet or something for your batteries, and you'll be fine. Okay, so now we're going to strip it with the crimper, the eye crimp stripper, and we're going to just hold the cable, kind of make a mark with our thumb of how much insulation we need to cut back, and then we're going to place it inside just like that. And then we're just going to or you're going to put like a slight pressure on it, give it a twist. And most of this stuff, guys, you can figure it out on your own. It takes a little practice to kind of get it down, but it's not that difficult. So then we just kind of rock the insulation back and forth, and it'll pull right off, kind of like that. Oops. And then you got your ring terminal. So we'll slide that right down over the top. This one, I think I went a little bit long by accident. So we'll jam that down in. Nomad Brad should write a book about his travels. Oh boy. Well, I'm doing video books. I like making videos. I don't really like writing that much. I don't know. My mom says I'm a good writer, but I just don't have the mental capacity for it. I don't have the attention span to like sit down and write a book. But I like the idea. Maybe AI can do it for me. Okay, so there we go. We got the ring terminal on the wire. Now we're going to use our big hydraulic crimper again, our Temco industrial crimper. And so we're going to just open up the jaws, and then we're going to slide this in. Dino Might with a super chat. Thank you, Dino. I appreciate you. Happy to have you here. Hope you learned something from the show. We got Chillin' in DC. Hello. Happy to have you here, Chillin' in DC. I'm chilling in Arizona. All right, so we got that one down. And then on this one, I'm going to count it. Oh, another thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure before you crimp um, that your ring terminal is completely horizontal. You don't want to end up crimping on the side. You want it to be pretty much on the bottom. So just kind of got to align it a little bit, and we're off. Tighten it down. We're going to count 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. One more for good measure. Then we'll just loosen the top. Oh my goodness. Might need a little lube on that. That's a little tight. Hmm. Hold on. Technical difficulty. Technical difficulty. Use these pliers to loosen it up here. There we go. We got a little crazy. That one extra for good measure, it did me in. It did me in, folks. Okay, so now We're doing the heat shrink again. We're doing black. So I like to use black cable for the negatives and then black heat shrink for the black cable. So we'll take like this much of it. Got the cable, the heat shrink. We're going to clip it just like that. Burning the midnight oil tonight, doing a little late night work and a live stream. I try to switch it up for you guys, do different things for the live stream so everybody gets a little something. Sometimes we're just hanging out in nature. Sometimes we're cooking. Sometimes I'm just having a chat. And sometimes I'm doing a little work, a little electrical. So I try to mix it up, just do a little bit of everything. Man, this one's a little tight. I think this ring terminal might be a little bit bigger. Um, Sometimes too, you have to be careful with the ring terminal. Um, sometimes different brands will be slightly different diameters, like just a little bit, but enough that it's noticeable. So we'll try this bigger heat shrink on here. Okay, here we go. So we got the heat shrink, fire up the heat gun. 9:30 a.m. Man, you are on the other side of the globe. It's already Thursday. Here we go. We're getting it. We're getting it. Catskill Hillbilly says he doesn't understand electrical, or I should say he or she doesn't understand electrical, but they're happy to be here. I appreciate you, Hillbilly. So here we are with the crimp, with the ring terminal, with the heat shrink ready to go, tight, secure. So we'll do it on the other end. Yeah, so somebody was asking here, I'm kind of watching the chats as I go. Um, let's see. So Tekarak says you prefer that kind of crimper to the hexagonal one. Yeah, I do, and I'll explain why. So I previously had the hexagonal one, and the difference is the hexagonal one, it has specific dies, which are like, like basically this little piece right here. It has specific pieces that are meant for each different size of ring term or of wire. So like if I'm doing a 1/0, I have to put in the 1/0 die. If I'm doing a 4 gauge, I have to put in a 4 gauge die. And so the difference is when you do that, then you just have to crimp it till it's tight and you have no other adjustment. But with this style, because you slide it up and down and lock it in, and then you're just manually crimping it until it's like tight. So you can adjust it. Like you can go an extra crimp if you need to, or if you don't want to go as far with your crimping, you can. So you get added flexibility, which helps specifically when, if you have like sometimes ring terminals, like I mentioned, they're a little bit different in diameter, and the same with the wire. Like sometimes a 1/0 cable, two different brands will be a little different in diameter. So just with this, I think I get a little more precision. Like I can make sure it's 100% tight. I have had instances before where I've used the hexagonal ones, but the wire and ring terminal combination wasn't tight enough, and so I was able to like pull the ring terminal off. So that's not always the case, but it definitely can happen. And that's why I prefer this style. Plus, you don't have to swap out the dies, you just adjust it manually and tighten it down. So it's very easy to go through different sizes of wires quickly. So yeah, I like this one. Nothing inherently wrong with the hexagonal style, but that's just what I do. Let's see what we got. Going back to the questions. Kraken Engineer says, how many kilowatt hours does your mini split pull in normal use? I really have no idea for that because I don't have any type of monitoring specifically to my mini split. So I'm not sure. All I can tell you is that um like on full power it draws 800 watts, and then once it's achieved temperature and it's kind of just maintaining, it drops down to about 300 watts on and off, but I can't give you a realistic um value. If I had if I had like Victron equipment, like a Victron inverter and their Servo GX, then you have some advanced monitoring features. But I don't have that with this inverter, so I'm really not sure. Couldn't really tell you. But on my next build, I am going to do Victron, um, specifically so that I can have that monitoring to kind of answer those questions better. So I'll be able to tell you better on the next build. Jay Stewart is asking, are the ring terminals 3/8 hole? No, they're 5/16. So the battery terminals on lithium batteries, the rings are all going to be 5/16, which is this one right here. And here's a 3/8. So you guys can see the difference. The 3/8 is larger, the 5/16 is smaller. So the 5/16 is what you're going to natively use on lithium battery posts. Also, ANL fuse holders, they're all 5/16. And the bus bar that I have here is also 5/16. However, what's interesting is the on-off switches, they always use 3/8 ring terminals, which is kind of funky. So for example, on this piece that I made, this one is a 5/16 ring terminal, but the one that connects into the on-off switch is 3/8. So that's something else, when you're building a system you have to plan for, is not just wire size and wire length, but also ring terminal size. And so that's all stuff that, if you do it yourself, you'll figure it out. It's some trial and error. And then eventually you get it down and you kind of got it figured. So now I just know off the top of my head that the on-off switches are always 3/8. Also shunts, battery shunts, like either Renogy or Victron, those are also typically a 3/8 ring. Okay, so we got this guy. This is the negative to the positive. So now we'll do the other ring terminal. We're going to strip it. Yeah, Jay, I think on the lithium they always do metric, I think, but yeah, it'll be a 5/16 ring for sure. Yeah, and you think, let's see, you have eco-worthy batteries, so I'm for sure eco-worthy is 5/16. Okay, so let's check on this and go like this, and then we're gonna strip this one again with this iCrimp stripper. Very handy, very easy. I've tried all different kinds of strippers. This is kind of the most simple style, easy to use. And we'll pop that off. Boom. There we go. Also, another thing you want to make sure when you're stripping your wire, and this is like, something you learn from experience, when you're stripping it, you're just barely putting pressure on it because all you want to do is slice through the insulation. But if you squeeze down too hard on this when you're spinning it, it'll actually cut into the copper. And then when you pull the top off, you'll get a bunch of copper strands that like shoot out with it. And then, when you lose copper, you're losing the ability of your large gauge wire to transfer amps efficiently. So you don't want to strip off a bunch of copper when you're stripping the insulation. So that's just something to keep in mind and be careful about. But we're in business here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. How you guys doing? You hanging? Appreciate you guys hanging with me. I know this isn't the most exciting thing, but I'm just trying to switch it up for folks. Kraken Engineer says, just wondering, since my 5K BTU window unit in my truck uses 3 to 4 kilowatts on these hot days. Yeah, um, window units are a lot less efficient. Even if you have, so in my last box truck, I had the Medea inverter compressor mini split, which is more efficient than a traditional window unit compressor, but it was still really power hungry. I had a bigger one. I had a 12,000 BTU unit, and it still pulled like 1,000 watts an hour. It was a monster. Um, now I think the 5,000 BTU window units do use less energy. Those might be more like, maybe those are more like 500 or 600 watts. I'm not sure exactly, but um, I think the mini splits are just better. They have more. I mean, it's like a physics thing, right? The mini split, the outdoor unit, has a way larger surface area than a window air conditioner. It's just physics, right? The larger the surface area, the more efficiently you can dissipate heat. And that's what an air conditioner is. It's absorbing heat from inside and it's exhausting it outside. So the larger surface area, the more efficiently it's going to be able to do that. And the more efficient it is, the less energy it will use. So that's why um, no matter what, I think a mini split is more efficient. And keep in mind too, my mini split is 12,000 BTUs. So if you're trying to compare um, numbers, you would have to compare against like a 5,000 BTU mini split, which I don't know if they even make a single head mini split in 5,000. The smallest one you might get is like around 8,000. The window draws 4 to 500 an hour. Yeah. Yeah, and keep in mind too with the mini splits, um, they're constantly variable, right? So like I said with mine, 800 is full blast, but it has an algorithm that's looking at temperatures and it's adjusting output voltage, so or wattage. And so when mine's just cruising on low, once the temperature is maintained, it's only like 300 watts. And it cycles on and off, right? Just like a regular AC. So when it's satisfied, it completely shuts off. Also, mini split is way quieter. Like my mini split's running right now. You can't even hear it. It's whisper quiet. I remember when I had that window unit in my last box truck, it was so loud. It was just like wah. It was crazy. It was not it was not an enjoyable experience. Uh, but that was just for me. Again, it was a 12,000. It was a monster. I'm sure the 5,000 is a little bit quieter. All right, so now we're putting the wire lug, the copper lug, the 5/16 ring terminal down into the crimper. We're going to tighten it. We're going to push it in. We're going to make sure it's all set up. And then we're going to go to 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we are. And we're going to loosen it. I believe the DIY Mr. Cool unit I put on my daughter's mobile home is 9,000. Yeah, I think, yeah, 8 or 9,000 is kind of the minimum. You can get smaller heads, but only on multi-head units. Like you can get a mini split that uses 2 or 3 heads, and then um, those could be like 6,000 per head. But anyway, that's kind of like that's nerdy tech talk. I don't know why this thing's getting stuck. It's the dry heat. It can't handle it. It can't handle the dry heat. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going tight. Good gravy. There we go. Okay, cool. So we got the piece. And then after this, we're going to switch to a 6 gauge. So I'll show you guys how it works with a little bit smaller gauge wire. Okay, let's see if this heat shrink I already cut will fit on here. Not really. That's interesting. Okay. This one's just a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're going to use this big boy heat shrink and we're going to cut a little piece. Let's see what we want. We'll cut it like right here. Go like that. Woo. We'll drop it down. Oh, I see Dreadhead in the chat. Got a 10,000 BTU and my rig is not bad. And it's about how you mount it. Hell yeah, happy to hear Dreadhead's making it happen with a 10K BTU unit. Kraken says I'm in a 16-foot box. Holy cow. Yeah, I can't imagine a 16-foot box with a 5,000 BTU window AC. That thing must just run all the time. Um, yeah, I have the 12,000 on this and super happy with it. And I do think it is a good idea to oversize your air conditioner, especially with a mini split, because it can run down at a lower capacity. Because it's always nice to have extra cooling, because if you don't need it, it isn't going to go that high. But if you need extra cooling and you have a smaller unit, there's nothing you can do about it. Um, so I think I think it makes sense to oversize your unit a little bit, which is why I did the 12. In the next box truck, that'll be a 16 foot. I'll have to do a 12 again because that's the biggest unit they make that runs on 120 volts. Anything over 12,000 BTUs is a 240 volt unit, and I don't want to run 240 volts on my next rig. So I'll just do another 12, and I'm sure it'll work out. I'm going to do better insulation on the next box truck. I'll do two inches instead of an inch and a half, and so I think it'll be fine. So here we are. We got our two 1/0 18-inch battery interconnect cables, and so this is going to be to connect two 12-volt 230 amp hour eco-worthy lithium batteries. And so we'll put these aside. That's it for today on those guys. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some smaller wire. We're going to use some 6 gauge. Let's see. Have you ever been told you remind me of Jake from Matt's Off-Road Recovery? Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love Matt's Off-Road Recovery. Um, I think Jake is the guy. That's like the main tow truck driver guy. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, someone was asking on the next Kraken has 2.5 inches of spray foam. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I had professionals do. So when it's 100 outside, the unit can be, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to hear it. Spray foam is definitely a good idea. I wanted to get an estimate. I was shopping around this winter to just see what spray foam would cost. And I asked a company in Yuma how much it would cost to spray foam a 16-foot box truck. And I think they wanted almost $3,000, which seemed like a lot of money. Um, I didn't really, I don't really know if I want to spend $3,000 on insulation. I think if I use the 2-inch rigid insulation board, it would probably cost me closer to $1,000. Um, but I definitely like the idea of spray foam. Definitely. Let's see. Yeah, we just got another super chat come in. Let me try to answer this question from Jonathan Romes. What's the largest wattage solar array you've installed? Let's see. The largest system I did was for Scott this winter in El Centro, California, and he had four 520-watt panels. So what is that? 2200 watts, right? 51, 52, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2400 watts, 50, 550s, 2000, no, 2200. Yeah, so 2200 watts. That was the largest system I've done. I only work on vehicles, so it's pretty hard to get more than 2200 watts on the roof. If you have a big box truck or like a bus, you can get more. I worked with actually Paul Barger, the bread trucker. I didn't install his solar, but I helped him out a couple years ago at Van Aid, and he put like over 3000 watts on the roof of his school bus. He has like a 40-foot school bus, and that was pretty impressive. That's a massive system. But I've never personally done anything that big. Okay, so we got the battery interconnects. Let me look at the notes here. Negative 24, 6 gauge. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to 6 gauge. And so what's going on here is, I'll show you guys kind of the system again. So we got 1-aught battery cable coming in, going through the main fuse, going through the disconnect, and then into this bus bar. And then from the bus bar, we'll be able to run different loads. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a setup for an external 12-volt fuse block, like a Blue Sea Systems fuse block. And so those have a maximum of 125 amps that they can allow. And so we're going to step down from this 1-aught battery cable, and we're going to step down to a number 6, which is going to be this stuff right here. So if you just look at the size comparison, look how much smaller that number 6 is compared to the 1-aught. So very big difference in size. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do some number 6. Obviously, this smaller gauge wire is a lot easier to work with. Uh, let's see. Let's pull this. Let's pull this apart. I'm not. Someone asked if I'm an electrician. I'm not an electrician, but I play one on TV. Okay, so let's see. 24 inches negative. So the first thing we're going to do is a 24-inch negative number 6. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to lay out my tape measure. We'll measure 24 inches, and then we'll cut it, and then we'll crimp it. And actually, I think I have another set of crimpers I might try to use for the smaller gauge stuff. Sometimes the smaller cables are easier to crimp with a hand crimper. They get a little bit lost in the big boys. I usually only use um, these big crimpers here. These guys here, I usually only use them for like number 4 wire or bigger because the ring terminals fit well. If you go with a smaller ring, like a number 6, number 8, um, they can tend to get a little bit lost in there. Okay, so we got this black negative. We're gonna pull the tape measure out, show you guys what's happening here. And so I have a tape measure. I'm looking at 24 inches. I'm gonna cut it right here. Yeah, so I'm not an electrician, but my background is I was an HVAC contractor for 10 years. And so I did a ton of electrical. Like I wired in furnaces and air conditioners and switches and pumps and all kinds of stuff in residential housing. So the difference is an electrician, like a licensed electrician, they just have a lot like broader knowledge, right? Like they can do all kinds of different stuff that I just don't know about. But I'm really good at, like specific things. Like anything that's residential, 120 volt. Um, yeah, it's pretty easy for me, no problem. But when you get into even higher voltage, I did 240-volt air conditioners. But anything that's like more specialty, I'm just not familiar with. But yeah, if I, wanted to go to school and be an electrician, I could, but then I couldn't travel and be a nomad. The problem with um, trying to be an electrician is you have to be licensed in every state, and then also you have to be licensed in like specific cities or counties. And so it's just not realistic to travel. You basically have to commit to a specific region location, and that's just where you work at. So um, yeah, I have no interest in doing that. Okay, so we got the 24-inch piece of ground, number 6. We're going to strip it with these guys. Let me find the ring terminal for this that we're going to use. And this is going to be a little bit different because we're doing, out of the number 6, we got to do a 5/16 ring on one side to get to the bus bar. But then on the other side, the fuse holders use 1/4 inch terminals. So we got to do a 1/4 inch on the other side. So that's a pretty big difference in ring terminal size. So let me, okay, here's a 5/16 right here. So I got one. No, I don't hover. That's why I don't do residential electrical. If I did residential electrical, I'd have to stay in one spot. Um, if you work on vehicles, it doesn't matter. That's why I work on vehicles. Look at that. Here's the difference in size between a 1/0 and a number 6. Huge difference. So you're going to flow a lot more electricity, obviously, through that bigger wire. Okay, number 6, and we got the wire. We're going to strip it. We're going to use the same strippers. And then you can see the strippers, they have multiple different like little grooves. And so depending what size wire you have, like that's the one we did for 1/0, right? That's way too big. We can go down to that size, and that looks pretty good. So we'll use that second groove to strip this number 6 cable, and I'm just going to use my finger again as a measurement for how much we want to strip off. And then we'll drop it right down in the groove, just like that. There we go. We're just going to give it a little twist, just like this. Sometimes the smaller stuff is harder to nail on your first time, but it looks like we got it. There it is. Pull it out. There's a little bit of cardboard insulation on the inside, but we didn't lose any strand. That's the important part. You don't want to cut into your copper. So we're all good there. And then we got this guy on top. And let's see, we'll try this. We'll see if it'll fit in here. It looks like it might. Okay. So here we go. Here we go. Yeah, so when I was working in Oregon, that's how the permitting process was. I don't know what it's like in Arizona, but 10 years ago when I was in Oregon, um, as a electrician, you'd have to file for permits, and you would have to have licensing and stuff for different counties and different cities and stuff. Like if you wanted to work in Portland, you had to file for Portland permits and stuff. So I don't know. It might be different in Arizona, but I'm sure I assume it's different state to state, or maybe it's not. Maybe everything's different now. I could be wrong. Okay, here we go. So we got the ring terminal in the crimper, just like that. And then let's see, we got this tightened down. So now we're just going to go ahead and give that a few squeezes. Watch the inside. That looks pretty good. And there we go. All right. And here we go. The ring terminal. You can kind of see the indentation there. So we got a nice solid connection. Always give it a tug. Make sure it's solid, feels good. Then we're going to use this heat shrink on top. And we're gonna use the heat gun. Here we go. All right, here we go. So there it is, all heat shrinked in place, ready to rock. Yeah, no dinner tonight, no cooking tonight. My mom actually made dinner. She made a delicious Mediterranean style soup, and then we had some homemade pita bread and some beef that she cooked up the other day. Very delicious. My mom's a super good cook, and so I always enjoy coming to visit her because she makes delicious food, and I am happy to eat delicious food. I appreciate that. She's a good cook. She spoiled me. Delicious cook. I remember um, when I was younger, I went to a friend's house to have dinner, and his mom was not a very good cook. And I remember she made these tacos, and she used like super fatty ground beef. And I remember like vivid in my mind. Keep in mind, I mean, I'm probably 10 or 12 years old at the time, but I still remember it looking at this plate of tacos, and literally the tacos on the plate are sitting in like a huge pool of grease, like so nasty. And the taco shells were all soggy with grease, and it was just disgusting. And I realized in that moment that not all moms are good cooks, you know? Like I mean when you're young, you don't know, you just assume mom makes good food, but I definitely realized that. And so I'm grateful that my mom's a good cook. And so uh, there's always she's always making something delicious. Somebody asked if I know a place in Mesa uh, to rent to do a box truck build. Um, I really don't. It's hard to find places to like do build outs because most places don't want you, like most places that rent spots out, like if you're going to look for vehicle storage or some kind of a small storage space, most of those facilities, like they don't want you working on their property, right? And it's like I kind of get it because when you're doing a build out, you're making a mess. I mean, there's going to be like wood shavings, and ultimately there's going to be plastic shavings and like all kinds of stuff. And so it kind of makes a mess, little bits of insulation all over. So I understand why businesses don't really want you doing build outs. Also, I think there's some liability there. And so I don't really know, man. Also, too, the hard thing is we're getting into the summer heat. So I couldn't imagine doing a build out in Mesa through the summer. I mean, it's going to be 100 degrees almost every day. It's going to be super hot. So I'm not sure about that. Um, I'm not sure. Basically, you would need to probably know somebody, like kind of on a personal basis that might have extra space that they would let you store it. You could look on like Facebook, not Facebook, Craigslist. Craigslist has a tab for real estate, but then they have like a subcategory for like parking and storage. And so you might find like a privately owned spot where they're open to you doing a build on location. That's a possibility. But I think that's probably the closest you're going to get um, for that reason. So I'm not sure. I think they said they're not starting until November, so that's nice. The weather will definitely be a lot better in November. Okay, let's see. So here's our number 6. All right. So here's our number 6. Look at the difference. This is our number 6 quarter inch, which will go on the fuse holder, versus this is a number 6 5/16, which goes on the battery or the bus bar. So again, difference in ring size. So this is the one we're going to be using. So now we're going to go ahead and crimp this guy on just like this. Okay. I like this audience, a lot of great people that are intrigued about off-grid living. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a good group, good audience. For the most part, not a lot of trolls, and everyone's just like asking questions. A lot of people are in all different stages of building or of being curious about building. Some people, are just kind of interested. Other people are getting started. This person's planning their build for November. The Simple Box just finished his build. He's on the road now. He's in Texas. I think he said he was sweaty, and I can relate. I spent a year and a half in Austin, Texas, and it was brutal. Brutal. Beautiful though. Austin is beautiful. The rest of Texas is pretty questionable, honestly, um, especially West Texas. But Austin was beautiful. Spent a lot of time in Barton Springs, hanging out. Actually, what's interesting is when I was in Austin, I would go to the Barton Springs Hot Springs, and they have a free swim um, every twice a day. It's like 5 a.m. and then like 8 p.m. They have a free swim. So I would, I was living in my rig. I don't have a shower, so I would go in the evening, right before bed, take a dip in the spring, and cool off. And it was pretty stinking amazing. That was a nice thing about Austin was the springs. They're super nice. Cold springs. You don't want hot springs in Austin, Texas. So here's our ring terminal with the quarter inch. So now we're going to heat shrink that. Jay says traveling in Australia and it's 52 degrees Celsius. Very hot. I hear you, man. Yeah. It's interesting right now. Like in America, some places are hot, some places are cold. Up in northern Arizona. So, my plan is to go visit the White Mountains, but I'm spending extra time in the Phoenix area because it's still cold up there. In fact, Sholo, which is on the way to the White Mountains, has a forecast for snow, I think on Sunday. We're supposed to get snow, and it's May. It's going to be May already. So it's pretty interesting the way the weather is different, throughout the country. All right. So here we are. That one's complete. So this one's going to go. Um, this one's going to go from the bus bar down to the 12-volt fuse distribution block. 24 inches, heat shrinked up, ring terminals ready to go. We'll set that one aside. I'm going to close the windows. It's getting dark now, and there's a bunch of people driving by, and so I don't want to blow up my cover. You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to know that we're having so much fun in here. They might get jealous. They might get jealous of all the fun we're having. So I'm gonna close the window covers. Somebody asked what I put in my hair, what hair product I use. Nothing. I don't use hair product. I use no hair product. It's just all natural. In fact, I shower once a week and I don't usually wash it with shampoo. I just do like a hot rinse. So I just showered yesterday. That was my weekly shower. Sometimes I shower more. Obviously, like if I'm going to the gym and working out or sweating, I shower more. But I really don't wash it. I don't use shampoo. I just rinse it with hot water and run my fingers through it, and that's it. And so it's basically just, a little bit of natural oils. Your hair naturally produces a little bit of oil. And so if you don't, when you wash your hair with shampoo all the time, it strips off all the natural oil that's on your hair and it leaves it dried out. And then when your hair or your scalp realizes you don't have oil, then it creates more. And then it's like constantly creating oil because you're constantly stripping it away. And so it's like this endless cycle of oil and shampoo and hair gel. But if you just use nothing and kind of have some natural oils in your hair, then, that's just what it does. It just it does this. No, obviously not for everybody, right? It depends on your hair type. If you have like curly hair or different something different, it's going to act different. But I just pick a hairstyle that works with the hair that I have. So if I wanted to have hair that was like straight down, that wouldn't be possible with the hair that I naturally have. So I just pick a style that works with it, and that's what it does. So that's what we're doing. No products for me, sir. Let's see. Oh yeah, someone's asking about solar panels on the hood. There's actually a company that makes solar panels that are specific to vehicle hoods. So like you'll see them sometimes on like overlanders, like Toyota Tacomas. They'll have like a solar panel. It's like cut, in the shape of the hood. But the problem, the challenge is that you just don't have that much surface area on the hood of your vehicle. You're not going to really be able to get more than probably 100 watts off of a solar panel on the hood, and that's just not that much solar, right? So when they do it on like overlanding rigs, they usually use the roof solar panel to trickle charge their starting battery on their car, right? And then they use the starting battery to like run lights and winches, maybe a mini fridge. They might have a couple Optima yellow top batteries, but that's just the reality is you can only get about 100 watts out of a hood solar panel, so it's not really a big deal. Bra- um, Brendan says, "What do you do if you ever feel homesick?" So homesick is interesting, right? Because homesick is actually not location based, right? When you're talking about being homesick, it's the feeling, right? It's the feeling of being home, but it's not really based on location, right? Like, so for example, I grew up in Oregon, but if I moved to Arizona, excuse me, and then Arizona became my home, then I'm not homesick for Oregon because now I'm living in Arizona, right? So for me, the van is my home. So I feel homesick when I'm not in my van, honestly. Like if I'm out, stay like if I go on vacation, which man, I'm trying to think. Okay, so here's a good example. When I went to help my mom move from Texas to Arizona last year, and so I was away from my van for about a week, maybe like 10 days, and I definitely felt homesick. Not being in my van, not having all my stuff, all my creature comforts. So the van is my home. So I guess the answer is I honestly I don't feel homesick because this is my home, right? And I think for anybody who's moved, you can kind of understand that once you move, the new place is your home. And if you feel homesick, usually it's not actually location based, it's situational. So you might miss people, or you might miss like social events or a job or something like that. But homesick usually isn't location based. So I think that's kind of it. It's more of a mental thing. So I don't get homesick. I don't really get lonely. I know I should. I should be lonely, but I'm not. I'm an only child, and I spend so much time by myself as a child that I'm just pretty used to it. So I still do associate with people when I can. I'm at my mom's now. I was with my dad most of the winter. I went out with the box truck boys and, did some off-grid camping with Sir and Dave and Scott and Nomad King. So I get my mix of socialization. Last summer, I was social all summer. I was in San Diego at the beach all summer with a ton of nomads. Um, so it just, you can kind of have what you want. And people that are more social, they'll go to more nomad events and gatherings, and you can travel with other people. So it's definitely kind of a choose your own journey lifestyle. And so if you want to be around people, then you totally can. Okay, let me see what the next one is we're doing here. Number 6. Now we got to switch to positive. We got to do some short ones. We got to do some short ones. So I have about two more cables to do here. And then I'm pretty much done with this electrical demonstration. We've been going just over an hour, so probably another half hour or so, and then we'll wrap it up. If you guys have any last minute questions or anything, um, I'll do my best to answer those for you. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to do is a number 6 positive, and we're going to go 16 inches. So we're doing the red stuff. We're going to go 16 inches. Let's see. Here's a question, Brad. How do people customer get to contact you for business purpose? Do you have apps? I just do email. Yeah, I only do email. So on my website, solarservice.com, you can send me an email and tell me what you need. I'll see if I can help you out. I don't use apps or anything. I mean, the thing is, I'm just one guy, that lives in a van and I travel a lot. So um, there's only so many jobs I can do. Like, I really don't have to look for work. The work finds me. And unfortunately, I have to turn down a lot of people because I can only do so much. Plus, I'm a YouTuber. So honestly, it takes me more time to do all the YouTube stuff, filming, editing, publishing. That's like a full-time job on its own. So I'm already pretty busy. And honestly, solar's more of a secondary thing right now um, because it's summer. I want to have fun. I want to travel, and so I want to make some travel videos. So um, I'm definitely leaning this summer more into YouTube rather than doing solar jobs. Yeah, someone just commented and said there's way too many RVs in San Diego. Yeah, I believe it. San Diego is a beautiful spot for nomad life. Unfortunately, it's just like everybody goes there, and there's more and more people that are, getting into van life or RV life. And so it's just overcrowded, as the economy goes down and people are more tight with money. So I don't know what the solution is. Honestly, one of the main reasons I did not go to San Diego this summer is just because when I was there last year, it was already overcrowded. Or even this winter, I was over there this winter doing a couple jobs, and it was so crowded. And last summer was really crowded, and I just felt like I had fun, I enjoyed it, but I want to pass that on to somebody else. I don't want to be just one more vehicle taking up a parking space. And I know the locals are sick of it, and I know the cops are tired of it. So yeah, I didn't want to spend any more time there, but I still think it's a beautiful spot, and I definitely, think if you haven't been there before, you should check it out. But I wouldn't plan on staying for a long time. It's pretty crowded, and it gets exhausting having to move all the time. Somebody asked a question about my next box truck, if I'm going to have a full kitchen. The answer is yes, I am. I'm going to have
All right. Can you guys hear me? Um, I forgot to charge my microphone after last week's live stream, and so it's like dead. When I turned it on to do the live stream today, it was at like only 30%, so I gotta recharge it. So we'll just have to work with the iPhone microphone, which I don't think it's too bad. It's not quite as good, obviously, but not too bad. Um, okay, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So in the next van build, I'm definitely gonna do a full kitchen. I'm gonna do an oven. I'm gonna do a food processor. So my mom uses a food processor a lot to make sauces and soups, and she makes her own hummus, which is absolutely delicious. So I want to get a food processor, which is kind of like a blender, a little bit like a blender. The only challenge is it takes a lot of water to clean everything up, especially a food processor. And so that's something I gotta really like try to consider is how I'm gonna clean everything because I'm still gonna be limited on my water. I am gonna get a bigger tank. I'm gonna try like a 50-gallon freshwater. So I'm just gonna have to be conservative and probably fill it more often, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely a full featured kitchen, and I want to kick up my cooking skills in the next build. In fact, my mom offered to help me make bread. She made some delicious biscuits the other day, and she said they're super easy. It only takes like half an hour to make them. And so I'm gonna have her teach me how she makes those while I'm here. And then um, on the next build, hopefully I can make my own biscuits. I'm gonna do for a gray tank. Yeah, I'll probably just do like a 25-gallon gray tank because the only thing, yeah, probably 25. That's a pretty good mix. Usually you want like half of what your fresh water is. Also, you want to empty your gray tank pretty frequently because it gets bacteria overgrowth and like mold and stuff. So if you let your gray tank sit for a long time, it gets funky and it can actually like clog up the drain line and stuff with like weird bacteria. So it's better to not let it sit for too long. So if it's a smaller gray tank, you'll have to empty it more often. Fill up daily with pilot water. What's your favorite booze? Can we send you booze? Yeah, you know, somebody asked me earlier, I think Flipper asked me if I drink a beer. And the answer is I don't really drink. I'm not opposed to it. Like I used to drink a lot, not like, not a lot, but I mean often. I used to drink often. And when I was younger, I had my party days. I did beer pong and Jaeger bombs and stuff, so I've been there. But as I've gotten older, I found that my body just doesn't really process alcohol well. So now when I drink alcohol, it just makes me sleepy. And so it's like there's literally no enjoyment from it, right? Like most people drink, catch a buzz, they're like vibing and feeling social. And so when I drink, I just feel sleepy and antisocial. So I don't drink because for me, it's just not an enjoyable experience. But if things were different, then I would drink. No, I'm definitely not opposed to it. It's just not for me. All right, we're gonna run some heat shrink up on this guy here. So here we go. There's one. number 6 with a 5/16 ring. Now we got to do the other side. Oh, this is gonna be for that guy. Okay, so this has to be the 1/4-inch ring. Let's see. Let's hop back in the chat here, see what's going on. Yeah, a lot of people are sharing a similar feeling with alcohol. They just don't tolerate it very well. And so, yeah, I think that's just a thing now. Okay, Christopher says, how do you prevent mice and other critters from setting up shop? So one thing I'll say about mice and other critters is that it depends on your vehicle build. So it just depends how well sealed the vehicle is, right? So like on this box truck, the whole floor is one solid sheet of aluminum. And then the only holes are the holes I drilled, like for the drain line and the heater. So if you're doing a box truck build, as long as you drill holes that are really close to the size of whatever you need to exit the vehicle, and then you insulate around the holes, then it's not really an issue. If you have, like, I had a shuttle bus a couple vehicles ago, and that thing got mice in it. It's a lot more open underneath. The shuttle buses have a lot more cracks and gaps in them. So it's easier to get mice in shuttle buses and RVs and travel trailers. Those have all kinds of openings. But box trucks are super stable or super sealed. Same with cargo vans, they're super sealed. The only thing that can happen is they can get in your engine bay. And for me personally, to my knowledge, I've never had a mouse in my engine bay. Yeah, it happened to Ryan. But I think the thing is, like with Ryan, he always leaves his passenger door open to like shoot video and stuff. So that's another thing actually, is if you leave a door open all the time, then they can easily get in. So like for me, the only door I have in the back, it's got a screen on it. So I always have the screen door closed. So there's really no good point of entry for a mouse other than in the engine bay. And I've just never had that happen. So I guess that's just luck. I think a lot of Nomads have had mice because I see them, like they put lights under their rig at night and different things. But I've just never really had that happen. I had it happen once in my shuttle bus, but that's it. Okay, let's see. Here's another 6/4 inch. All right, and we'll go like this. You need front cab. I have a front cab access door. It's right there. Van Life DJ, you see that? I have it in bed position, so it's covering the door. But it only takes, 20 seconds to slide the bed out of the way, and then you can go through the cab access door. I never use it. I prefer using the full-size door in the back. Brendan says, do you ever worry that a bigger truck means you're moving closer to just needing a full home? Yeah, I mean, so I hear what you're saying, man. That's a valid question. And so, what's interesting is, yeah, you could say, on one hand, you could think that if I got a bigger house, a bigger box truck, I'm going to have more stuff. I'm going to be wanting to get into a home. However, my thought process is a bigger box truck is actually going to allow me to stay on the road longer and avoid having a traditional home. And so the main reason I'm getting a bigger box truck is because I need to have room for all my solar parts and all my tools. And I just don't have room in this build. I have way too many components and parts and pieces. And additionally, I want to do a full-size bathroom and a full-size closet. And I just don't have room for, I mean, I could have a bath and a closet in here, but I love the space. I don't want to give up all the openness. So that's why I'm doing a bigger rig. But by having those amenities, a full bath, room for my tools and solar install parts, it allows me to continue this lifestyle. So no, I don't think it's going to push me towards a house. I really don't want a house. Like, just the thought of living in one location. See you later, Dino. Happy to have you here. I appreciate you joining. Catch you on the other side. I really don't want to have a permanent residence. Just the thought of only living in one location, for me, I don't like it. I like the variety. Like, I'm so excited to go up to the mountains in about a week and tour around, hang out in the pine trees, go visit some lakes, and, kind of live that lifestyle. But then when winter comes around, I can come back down to southern Arizona. I can be in the sun. I'm in the good weather. If you are going to live in one location all year, you're going to have to deal with either extreme hot or extreme cold. Like snow and rain and gray skies, or you're going to have to deal with crazy heat, like if you pick a full-time residence in Arizona. So I'm just not at that point. I mean, I'm sure eventually when I get older, and slow down, I'll want property. And I do kind of have the idea I'd like to get a piece of off-grid property in the next few years, but it wouldn't be all year. Like, I don't want to stay in one place. I want to be able to travel. So it would be something that I would just keep as a home base and maybe spend a few months there and just have a spot to like call home, I guess. But I really like the traveling. I really enjoy it. And here's the thing, guys. There's so many beautiful places I want to visit. I want to visit Idaho, Colorado, Utah, Montana. I want to go back to Oregon. And here's the thing. If I didn't live in this vehicle, if I sold all this stuff and I moved into an apartment, the only way I would be able to visit Oregon, Colorado, Idaho, Montana is I would have to fly there or rent a car and drive, and then I'd have to pay for hotel and Airbnb. So the cost would be so incredible, it wouldn't even be worth it. You know what I mean? And then you have to take time off from some kind of work. So it's like, if you're going to choose to live in a house, which no shade if you do, I mean, most America does it. But then it's like, you can't visit all these cool places. And I really want to explore and visit these beautiful natural places. So for me, I mean, van life is just a no-brainer. Let's see. CJ Snow says electrical questions. CJ, ask your electrical question. I will try to answer it. How about protecting your electrical system from EMP? The only way you can protect your home on wheels from an EMP is if you literally build an entire Faraday cage inside your vehicle. I looked into it because I was curious. The thing is, in order to shield yourself from an EMP fully, you can't have any gaps. You have to have 100% coverage with your EMP, like your Faraday fabric. And it would be very, very difficult and expensive to do that on a box truck. So you can do it. It's possible, but it's going to take very careful planning and execution to do it properly. Because the problem is, if you get it 90% of the way, it's not going to be enough and it'll still fry your devices. So it's just, I don't think it's really practical. And the thing is, I mean, if we really do get some kind of huge EMP blast, that's like civilization ending circumstances. So at that point, everybody's going to be blasted out. We're all going to be, the survivors are going to be just living in the trees. So it's going to be a bad time for everybody involved. CJ says people trying to sell them. People trying to sell what? I'm curious. What are people trying to sell? Are they trying to sell like devices you plug in? What are they selling? I'm curious. The thing too is, from everything that okay, CJ Snow says, yeah, they're trying to sell devices. Yeah, so to survive an EMP, you have to have a physical barrier that's going to block your electronics from the wave. So like, to my knowledge, there's no little device that's going to mitigate that. I'm pretty sure you have to have like a physical barrier, and it has to be EMP fabric. So some kind of a silver or other type of material. I think silver is the main thing they use. Yeah, I mean, you could try to put all of your electronics in a smaller box and build like a smaller cage inside your vehicle, but it would still wipe out like your air conditioner. Basically, anything with a circuit board is going to get fried. So like your air conditioner's toast, your laptop, your cell phone, your router, all your LED light strip. I mean, you know, you could protect your battery and your inverter, but anything that's not in an EMP box is going to get destroyed. So I wouldn't worry about it. The other thing too is that, you know, like an EMP attack, it's a pretty centralized thing from what I've understood. Like they can detonate an EMP with a blast radius like in a city, but they're not going to be able to EMP like the entire planet. So I think if there was actually an EMP blast, I think the odds of it happening next to you, your location, is probably pretty minimal. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it. At the end of the day, you know, we're all going to be meeting the Reaper. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, no one gets out alive. So I just say, you know, focus on having a good time, living your best life, and do as much as you can with the time you got left. And hopefully when it's all said and done, you'll have an enjoyable story. Party at my place. Yeah, so in regards to like EMP attacks and all that kind of stuff, I heard a guy the other day that was talking, and he said you should categorize things into like two different categories, right? When people talk about them. And one category should be, you know, what could possibly happen, like what is possible. And then the second category is what is likely, right? So these are two different levels of intensity. So like an EMP attack is possible, but it's not likely. Paying taxes every year is very likely, and it's also very possible, right? So you should put things into that category, right? Like inflation, very likely. Some kind of some next pandemic, likely. EMP attack, possible, probably not likely. So try to act accordingly, and you know, don't worry too much about the things that are out of your control. Okay, so we got this one all wrapped up. 5/16 ring terminal, 1/4 inch ring terminal. Here we go. That one down. We got one more to make. I probably need to plug my phone in. I feel like my phone is probably near the end of its life. I only get about a couple hours out of a live stream with it. I guess we still got a little more time left. Actually, I might just call it there for now. I'll answer some questions, but I might just finish up the electrical later. I'm kind of tired. It's like 8 o'clock. I'll just sit down with you folks. So we did good tonight. I hope you guys learned something. I showed you guys kind of a little basic diagram with the how the system works with the fuses and the bus bar and the on-off switch, and we wired up some 1/0 cable and some 6-gauge cable. And you guys kind of saw how it's done. It's pretty simple. It's not, it's not super technical. You just got to learn how to do it, and pretty much anyone could do this work if they wanted. Sally Berry said Brad was driving with windows down the other day when it was over 100. Yeah, so I have air conditioning in the cab of my van. The AC works great, but after being a nomad for 7 years, and keep in mind, for the first 5 years of my van life journey, I never had air conditioning in my living space. I had cab air conditioning, but I never had AC in my living space. So I've just become accustomed to hot temperatures. Really doesn't bother me. I went for a walk the other evening. It was 90 degrees outside, and I had a t-shirt and shorts on, and I was super comfortable. I wasn't sweating. I felt good. So, the human body is excellent at adapting to climate and to temperatures. And so for me, I'm pretty much always following the good weather. And so my body's pretty used to higher temperatures. So I'm pretty comfortable in temperatures that are high 90s, even into the 100s. If it's 100, I'm going to want some wind chill. I'm going to want a fan or something going, or have my windows down if I'm driving. But otherwise, and it's a dry heat, but otherwise I'm pretty comfortable. Now, I guess, yeah, CJ Snow mentions it's a dry heat. That's absolutely true. When I was in Texas, the humidity was brutal. Even when it's 90 degrees outside, when you have 60% humidity, it's super sticky and gross. So that is the exception, is I do not like humidity. Humidity is uncomfortable. But for dry heat, higher temperatures are no problem. Which is why I enjoy Arizona. Mary says, what mini split do you have? I have the brand is Climb Air, Klimaire, Climb Air mini split. I got the DIY version. It's super easy to install. If you don't have to have a bunch of special tools. It's pretty easy, pretty user friendly. So I always recommend that one. Concerned Citizen says, what gauge wire are you using? So we used a 1/0 for the battery cables, and then we used a number 6 for the smaller fuse holders. So here's a size comparison. This is the 1/0, the big boy, with a 5/16 ring terminal, and then this is our number 6 with a 1/4-inch ring terminal. We cut them, we crimped them, we used heat shrink, and these guys are complete. So that's what we did tonight. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Brad, can we touch the wire lug while in use? Why lug often got no cover? Yeah, you can touch it, no problem. I mean, ideally, you shouldn't have to be touching them, right? Like, usually your electrical is in a cabinet, in a bench. You're not touching it, but you can, as long as you're not. There's some instances where you're not supposed to, like if you're touching a positive and you're touching a negative, and you touch a ground or something, there can be some issues. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, electrical is typically installed in a location where you don't need to touch it. And so we put the heat shrink on it. And so the heat shrink covers, like half of the ring terminal. There's this little piece here that's uncovered. But that's, that allows it to make contact. But when it's all installed, it really shouldn't be in a location where you're having to touch it. I ain't touching that. Yeah, you don't have to. You can, you don't have to. Flipper says, how does this trip look up in Nevada? Are you ready? Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be leaving probably next week to head up north, up to the White Mountains in Arizona. Super excited about it. It's too cold right now. It's like in the 50s. It's freezing. So it's supposed to warm up next week into the 70s. So I'll head north. It's still going to be cool though. I'll be wearing sweatshirts instead of t-shirts, but I'm excited about it. Slugworth in the chat. Hashtag Team Foothills. Happy to have you here, Slugworth. Concerned Citizen says, how do you recommend the need for solar panels and batteries for a home? Yeah, all you have to do is get your energy bill and look at your usage. Your energy bill will tell you how many kilowatt hours you use in a given period. And then I would just divide it. So like if they tell you in 30 days, you use, I don't know, 100,000 kilowatt hours. I'm just totally guessing. Then I would divide that number by 30 to get an average amount of kilowatt hours you use in a day. And then you would try to install enough solar to offset your daily usage, right? Pretty simple. And anybody that has an electricity bill, they'll tell you how much energy you use. So you're just picking a solar system and batteries to offset that usage. All right, Senval is taken off. Good night. Happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Be looking forward to seeing you next time. I got my solar equipment inside my house with no cover or cabinet. I just don't touch it. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Don't touch it. Do not touch. That's all you got to do. All you got to do. Do not touch. $100,000 megawatts in a month. Damn you running a Bitcoin farm. I think I said kilowatts. But yeah, you could be farming some Bitcoin. Be a glitch in the matrix. Could you run an Xbox, TV, and internet consistently on the setup you have in your rig? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so right now I run, I mean, like on the video that's coming out Sunday, I filmed it a few days ago when it was like 91 degrees outside. I ran my air conditioner all day. It wasn't running all day, but I had it set for a comfortable temperature all day. And then I was watching some YouTube. I was working on the computer. I cooked meals. And I had my lights on. I was charging my phone. I did all kinds of stuff. And by the end of the day at like 6:30, I had 98% battery charge. So I went into the evening with a fully charged battery. Oh, and yeah, and I have Starlink. Exactly. So Starlink was on at the same time. So yeah, I had 98% battery going into the evening. And then by the time I woke up, I used hardly any battery overnight. So you can totally do a gaming Xbox setup with this electrical, no problem. Okay, guys, I think that's it. I'm going to wrap it up for the night. I'm tired. We've been going for 2 hours. We did all kinds of stuff tonight, all kinds of learning and teaching. I showed you guys a little bit about electrical. We had some good conversations. We talked about how to stay safe from EMPs, how to size electrical systems, how to guard against rodents in your vehicle. So I appreciate everybody that came through tonight. I appreciate all the super chats. Every dollar you guys contribute just goes towards my next box truck build, which I'm very excited for this winter. And so I appreciate it. I have a video coming out Sunday, a recorded video, and then I'll be live again next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific. And who knows where I'll be. I might be up in northern Arizona by next Wednesday. I'm not sure. So tune in and figure out where I'm at. But either way, it's going to be a good time. So that's it for me. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. This is Nomad Brad signing out. Peace.